The Day of the Dead. Mary was celebrating her mother on the Day of the Dead. Mary and her mother were very close. She loved her so much. A flower grabs hold of Mary. Mary had fallen into a dark hole. Mary was shocked because she had saw a skeleton. It walked forward and Mary walked back. The skeleton grabbed her arm and took her to a fountain. A balloon took Mary away and dropped her in. Mary was confused where the skeleton took her. She was taken to a dance tradition. The skeleton was dancing. However, it was her mother. Mary was with her mother and hugged her so much. However, it was just a dream. The Day of the Dead. This is a picture of my mum. She died. Mary picks up a flower. She is lying on the floor. There are skeletons playing music. The skeleton cut a melon into a marigold. The skeleton was her mum. And that's the Day of the Dead. The girl skips to her mum's grave. She visits her grave every day. The girl looked at the grave in sadness. She puts orange marigolds on her mum's grave and cries. Kaylee's tears dripped down and dropped onto the dirt, which made a mini flower appear. The flower grew in a click of a finger. The ground opened up and she falls and screams, "Ah!" She hits the floor. Oh, Day of the Dead. Mexican people celebrate Day of the Dead in Mexico. They celebrate Day of the Dead because it's like a religious. They eat Nando's mortillos for the bread and they eat a lot of it. Also, they have paper patterns all over the town. It is fun to look at. I'm finished. Day of the Dead. One day, she came to visit her mother. Suddenly, she fell through the floor. The little girl found a plate of bread. She was then given a fruit carved to look like a flower. The little girl jumped up in happiness. She then grabbed a balloon and held it tight. She then let go of the balloon and found a piñata for her to break.
After all that, little girl went home. The end.
Day of the Dead. One day, a little Mexican girl went to the graveyard to visit her dead mum. It brought back so many memories she began to cry. Just then she spotted a blue flower. When she touched the blue flower, she was sucked into a mystery well. Colourful confetti and fun parades. The little girl was having so much fun. The little children were eating the sweets, and then a dressed up skeleton came out. They was having so much fun. The end.
Day of the Dead. Kaylee on a special occasion came to visit her mother, who was unfortunately dead. Kaylee came to visit her every day, but today was the Day of the Dead, when the dead could come and visit their family, although they were invisible. Suddenly, the ground opened up and she fell down. At the bottom of the hole, there was a band of skeletons playing instruments. Kaylee was terrified. She was pushed towards a table with cut-out Mexican food. She was starting to enjoy this. Then she gets pushed to a piñata and hits it with the skeleton leg on the floor. Kaylee thought the skeleton looked familiar. It was her mum, Emily. She rushed into her arms and hugged her. Even though it was not real, she was happy that her mum was out there. She rushed back home celebrating.
This is the spirit's flower. A Mexican girl found a flower. It was pretty. The girl touched the pretty flower, but it wrapped around the small girl's arm. She screamed very loud. It scared her. It pulled her into the ground. There was a lot of scary people. She started dancing with one of the scary people. The scary people gave her some food. They also gave her a piñata. They took her to the middle of the skeleton land. She saw her mum there. She ran and hugged her. Then she found herself back home. She then ran off. The end.
Day of the Dead. This girl is sad. Her mother died last year. She doesn't think she could get over it. The little girl saw a flower. She decided to take it, but then the flower pulled her and then fell into a deep hole. The little girl fell into this hole with the flower. Then this weird skeleton showed up in her face. They have fun. It turns out it was her mum.
Why, hello there. This is the Day of the Dead, and this is all about Mexico and celebration of special dead people. It is on the 31st of October, which is also counted as Halloween. This is celebrated because of a special family member that died. Day of the Dead calls Halloween in Mexico. This is celebrated in all countries to present respect for special people that died. All schools celebrate this. It's also been going on for a long time and is very popular for Mexico. Poor and rich celebrate this every
One day,
Halloween.
a young girl in Mexico visited the graveyard where her dead mum was. Suddenly, she spotted a beautiful blue flower that sucked her into a deep dark hole. Whoa, skeletons playing instruments. The child couldn't believe her eyes. Just then, a kind skeleton walked towards her out of nowhere. What was going on? It gently stroked her face. The young girl leant back. She felt scared. Suddenly, the mysterious skeleton started making shapes out of food for the young child. Yay. The little girl felt safe. They played many games and dressed up in marvellous dresses. As night got closer, the kind skeleton slowly turned into a human. It was the girl's mum. Finally, she felt glad.
As the moon rose, the pigs were playing until they heard a loud bang from the big door. Then they realised it's the angry birds trying to take over the castle. As the birds managed to get in the gate, then they tried and went into battle.
This is a story of Day of the Dead. I'm very sad I missed my mum. Then a flower took her down into the underground. Then she pulled down, she stood up. She was scared, then she slowly stood up. Then a skeleton peeked up behind and sat her down and cut up some melon and gave it to her. She was shocked. Then she got up and tried to run, but she was too shocked. Then the skeleton went.
The story is titled The Dead Flower. Here's what happens. On November, every year in Mexico, they celebrate Day of the Dead. A little girl is at a cemetery and starts crying. Then a flower grows. She then touches it and gets sent to an empty abyss. Out of nowhere, a light turned on and 3 skeletons appeared with their guitars and started playing music. The skeleton tried to hit the pinata but failed. Then the girl takes the leg from the skeleton and hits the pinata. Then the skeleton drags the girl to a club and the skeleton turns into the girl's mom and hugs her.
A young girl was at her sister's grave at 9:30 p.m. She was very sad that her sister wasn't alive anymore. A lovely blue flower blew out of the grass. She was very confused but decided to touch it. The flower wrapped around her hand and pulled her into the underground. She turned around and saw a skeleton behind her smiling. She was terrified but went with it. She was stroked around the face by a skeleton hand and placed on a table with loads of food. She then disappeared and no one saw the rest of her.